Am I good? Good morning. Welcome to Chapter 3. We are just breezing through our curriculum here. 3.1, Graphing Linear Equations. Graphing an equation of a line is one of my most favorite things to teach. Today we're going to talk about the standard form of a linear equation, and I'm going to be honest with you and tell you up front, make sure you know the definition. The standard form of a linear equation right there in that box is ax plus by equals c, where a is greater than or equal to 0. So the coefficient of the x term has to be greater than or equal to 0. A and b both can't be 0 at the same time. A, b, and c are all integers, and the GCF of a, b, and c equals 1. So if I ask you on a test or on a quiz to define the standard form of a linear equation, I am looking for that whole definition, not just ax plus by equals c. Is that clear? Good. A linear equation is an equation that can be written in standard form. It can be written in the form of ax plus by equals c. So as you can see, I've highlighted a few things. Why? Because they're extremely important. So to get an equation in standard form, always get both variables on the same side. So x and y have to be on the same side. Linear equations, their variables cannot have exponents. X and y cannot have exponents. They can't have a double variable, so it can't be 3xy plus y equals 6. That's not standard form. And there can never be a variable in the denominator. All of those, as soon as you would see them, would negate it from being a standard equation. Okay, so when you get x and y on the same side, guys, you have to keep the x term positive. If x is, and listen to me, if x is negative, it's technically not in standard form, and it will be incorrect. Is that clear? So the only way we're going to get it is go ahead and look at it. And that's why 2.7, the lesson we ended with, was, rewriting or solving an equation or a formula for a specific variable was so very, very important, because we learned how to move things to different sides. So let's go ahead and take a look at example 1. Now, example 1 is in your notes. Yes? Example 1, determine whether y equals 6 minus 3x is a linear equation. So I'm going to work it for you. I know it's worked right in front of you, but I'm going to work it for you. Okay, so example 1. Any day now, as soon as we get back to the pen. Sorry. Okay, example 1. We are talking about standard form of linear equations. Standard form of linear equations. For those of you that just came in late, please look. Make sure you both picked up a homework packet and a notes packet. Yes? Okay. So we're talking about standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. And if you look at the definition in the box in your notes, a, b, and c are integers. A is greater than or equal to 0. A and b cannot both equal 0 at the same time. And a, b, and c have a greatest common factor of 1. So example number 1, y equals 6 minus 3x. So this is my original equation, and the directions say write in standard form. Please remember, by definition, if an equation can be written in standard form, then it is a linear equation. So to go ahead and accomplish this goal, please remember the first thing we need to do is to get x and y on the same what, guys? Same side. And the x term must always be what? Positive or negative? So what would be the easiest thing to do here to each side of this equation?
Add 3x to both sides.
Add 3x to each side. And when we do that, we get, so let's just write this down, add 3x to each side. And I'm going to give you an asterisk. You want to keep the x term positive, always. And so now you have 3x plus y equals 6. The equation is now in standard form. And so I want to show you something that's really going to help you. So stay with me. If the equation is in standard form, watch what you could do right now to make your life easy. Ax plus by equals c. So we could say that A is 3. We could say that B equals 1. And we could say that C equals 6. Questions? Now let Mrs. Urso just go ahead and remind you. Ax plus by equals C. A has to be positive. However, B or C could be negative. Do you understand that? B or C could be negative. So let's look at a couple and determine. So determine if the equation is linear. And remember, by definition, it's linear if it can be written what? In Ax plus By equals C form. Please remember, let's go back over here and remember our highlighted areas. Always get both variables on the same side. Linear equations cannot have exponents, which means it can't be x squared or x cubed. Y can't have an exponent of x squared or x cubed. The exponent of x is understood to be 1. The exponent of y is understood to be 1. You can't have a double variable, so you can't have something like 15xy, and you can never have a variable in the denominator. So based on that, let's look at example number 2. Any takers? Is it a linear equation? Yes or no? Joyce? No, it's not a linear equation. Why? Because 3xy is a double variable. It's kind of like in volleyball, a double hit doesn't count. In basketball, a double dribble, sorry, you just lost the ball. You with me? So let's go ahead and determine whether some of these are. So let's go ahead and do a few from our notes. So from our notes, and here we are, let's look at numbers 1. I want to do this one with you. 6 plus y equals 8. 6 plus y equals 8. So what would be the first thing you would do to each side of that equation? Subtract 6. Good job. And so now you have y equals 2. So let's remember that a can be greater than or equal to 0. So I want you to realize that whenever you have an equation, y equals any number is always a linear equation. It's always a linear equation because it can be rewritten as 0x plus y equals 2. Yes, it's linear. Yes, question?
Do we have to write 0x?
You do not. Y equals 2 is definitely correct form. I am proving it to you that either way, is totally correct. No, you do not have to write 0x plus y equals 2. So I need you to make sure you add in your notes. Whenever you see an equation, y equals 4, y equals 10, y equals 0, y equals negative 3, whenever the equation is y equals a number, it is a linear equation. The exception, and if you remember when we studied functions back in chapter 1 or 2, and we looked at the function and we looked at the graphs and we used the vertical line test, y equals 2 is going to be graphed as a horizontal line. And that is a line because if you were to put points or if you were to move your pencil along that line, it only hits once. The exception to the rule is if the equation is ever in this form, x equals any number, is always non-linear. Is always non-linear. Are you with me? Yes? Okay, so why don't we try a few problems? So you need notes and homework from the back. Thank you. Let's try number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can do them right in your notes packet. 8, 7, 9. That'll keep you busy for a minute. Determine whether each equation is a linear equation. If any of you have homework to hand in, would you please make sure that you hand it to me? Thank you. People that just came in late.
Yeah, right there.
No problem. Thank you. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we've done. Actually, we're going to put a hold on that. I'm going to let you finish it. Let me go ahead and just go to the second part of our lesson today, which is graphing a linear equation by finding the x and the y-intercept. So we'll let you do this in a minute, okay? Continued, the second part of lesson 3.1. The graph of a linear equation represents all the solutions. An x-coordinate is the point at which the graph of the equation crosses the x-intercept. It's called the x-intercept. And where the graph crosses the y-axis is called the y-intercept. This is very important. I don't know why students over the years have confused it. I think it's pretty straightforward. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. The y-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So you should know the definitions of x and y-intercept. For those of you that were delayed in getting here today, you need to know that there most likely will be a quiz on Thursday. You will be asked definitions. You will be asked problems. You must know the definition, standard form of a linear equation, and I'll go back over that. To find the x-intercept, you let y equal 0 and solve for x. To find the y-intercept, you let y equal 0. I think this is a mistake here. To find the y-intercept, it should say you let x equal 0 and solve for y. So that's an error, so we need to correct that. Is everybody with me? Hello? To find the y-intercept, you let x equal 0 and solve for y. So let's go ahead and try to do one of these problems here. Graph 3x plus 2y equals 6. So one more time. To find x-intercept, let y equal 0, solve for x. To find y-intercept, let x equal 0, and you solve for y. Okay, so here's our equation. 3x plus 2y equals 6. And you guys, you did this last year. 3x plus 2y equals 6. So, to find the x-intercept, I kind of taught it this way for years. So let's just look up here and see. You guys, if you ever been around babies at about 8-9 months, they love to play peekaboo. And they really think that when they cover their eyes, that you're no longer there, that you have disappeared. That's why they laugh. This is cognitive reasoning. It's been developed in research. When they open their eyes and you're there, that's why they think it's so funny, because they really think you vanished because they don't see you. So we can play peekaboo to find the x-intercept. To find the x-intercept, if I get rid of the y term, what I have is a simple equation like 3x equals 6. And we all know then that x would equal what? 2. So to find the x-intercept, we would say 3x plus 2 times 0 equals 6, or 3x equals 6. The x-intercept would be 2. To find the y-intercept, you let x equal 0 and solve for y. And what's the y-intercept? 3. Now, you can graph this. You can graph this very easily. All you have to do is go ahead and make your graph. The x-intercept gets graphed on which axis, guys? The x-axis. So the x-intercept is 2. So the point that you're graphing would be 2, 0. Do you understand why it's 2, 0? We let y equal 0 to find out what x is. So the point is 2, 0. The y-intercept is 3. So the ordered pair there would be 0, 3. It only takes 2 points to determine a line. And there's your graph. Question? Yes? I can't hear you. Peekaboo will work every time. So if you cover up y and solve for x, you'll find the x-intercept. If you cover up x and solve for y, you'll find the y-intercept. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so let's try a couple. I think it's easiest to find or to graph an equation of a line by finding the x and the y-intercept. Example 2 in our notes says to make a table. Now, in order to make a table, let's just look at this. Example 2, y minus 2x equals 1 by making a table. If you're going to make a table, the easiest thing you have to do is you have to solve that equation for y first. So first you have to solve for y, and then you have to pick these points for x. I use 0, 1, 2, -1, -2. You plug them into x, plug it in, find y, get your ordered pairs. I'm just telling you, listen and believe me. I've done this for a long time. If the equation is solved for y, then make a table and graph it. If the equation is in standard form, like this equation right here, 3x plus 2y equals 6, find the x and y intercepts. So let's do this problem right here. Let's do number 1. Let's do number 1. Actually, I'm going to do it over here so I don't go into the next lesson. So number 1 in your notes, everybody try. 2x plus y equals 2. So the first thing I want is you find your x and y intercepts, and I want you to graph it. Is everybody with me? Find the x and y intercepts and graph it. I also want us to do number 3 by making a table. Yes?
We're doing number 1, correct?
Yes, we are.
For the equation it says -2.
There we go. Now it's a negative. Thank you. So find the x-intercept, find the y-intercept, make the graph. I did want to give you one hint about tonight's homework. So when you're doing these, and it says to you, solve by making a table, if it's in standard form, you have my permission to just go ahead and find the x and y-intercept. The ones that I said are the easiest would be if the equation is already solved for y. So let's just do this problem, and then we're going to go ahead and take some questions. God bless you. Is everybody done? Yes? You want to check with a friend? Okay, what'd you guys get? What's the x-intercept? And what's the y-intercept? Does it look like that? Okay. Anybody have a question? Okay. Hold on.